Right now, in this exact moment, someone is becoming a stronger version of you while you're still scrolling, still distracting yourself, still waiting for motivation that never comes. You know the version of yourself you could be, the disciplined, focused, unstoppable version. But you keep avoiding the one thing that could create him. Silence. Being alone with your own thoughts terrifies most people more than failure does. That's why they fill every second with noise, people, and noise. But what if the room you're avoiding right now is the exact room where your transformation begins? What if the loneliness you've been running from your whole life is actually the doorway to becoming who you were always meant to be? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will change how you see solitude forever. Be honest with yourself for a second. How many nights have you sat alone, scrolling through other people's lives, feeling that quiet ache of, I should be doing more? You know you have potential. You feel it sitting inside you like a fire that never gets lit. But every time you're alone, instead of using that time to build yourself, you escape it. You reach for your phone. You turn on noise. You numb the silence because the silence makes you face the truth that you're not where you want to be yet. Does this sound familiar? That discomfort you feel when you're alone isn't weakness. It's information. It's your mind telling you something important. But here's what most people never realize about that discomfort, and once you understand it, everything starts to shift. Here's the truth almost no one tells you. Solitude isn't punishment, it's training. Every person you admire, every disciplined, calm, powerful individual you look up to, built that strength in private, in silence, when no one was watching. The world tries to convince you that being alone means being left out, missing something, falling behind. So people fill their lives with constant noise, social media, distractions, validation from others, anything to avoid sitting with themselves. But that's exactly why most people stay stuck. They never give themselves the space to think, to train, to study, to become. The mistake most people make is treating alone time as empty time. They see it as a gap to be filled instead of a foundation to be built on. The truth is far more uncomfortable than most people want to admit. Your current life is largely a reflection of how you spend your time when no one is watching. Have you ever asked yourself what your alone time actually says about you? Because what comes next may surprise you. The most powerful people on earth didn't get there by being constantly busy. They got there by mastering their silence. Imagine waking up tomorrow and instead of reaching for your phone, you reach for a book. Instead of scrolling for an hour, you train for an hour. Instead of filling the silence with noise, you let it sharpen you. Picture that version of yourself, calm, focused, moving with purpose, because he's not afraid of being alone with his own mind anymore. That version of you isn't a fantasy. He's already inside you, waiting for the conditions that allow him to emerge. And those conditions start with one decision: choosing discipline over comfort when no one is around to see it. Think about the people you respect most. Chances are, much of what made them who they are happened away from the crowd: early mornings, late nights, quiet hours of study, training, building, thinking. Have you ever noticed how the moments that shaped you most were often the hardest, quietest ones? And this is where everything changes. When you stop seeing solitude as something to escape and start seeing it as your training ground. Every hour you spend alone improving yourself, reading, training your body, studying your craft, reflecting on your goals, is an hour your future self will thank you for. Every hour you spend numbing yourself instead is an hour that version of you has to wait longer to arrive. So here's a question worth sitting with. What would your life look like a year from now if you used your alone time intentionally, starting today? Now here's where most people go wrong, and it's something almost no one talks about. They think discipline means forcing themselves to feel motivated every single day. But motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants to and disappears when you need it most. What actually builds the strongest version of you isn't motivation. It's the quiet, repeated choice to show up for yourself, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when no one is watching, especially when you're completely alone. That's where real strength is forged. Comment discipline below if you're ready to start building that kind of strength. Think about your body for a moment. Every time you train alone, even when it's hard, even when you're tired, you're sending your nervous system a message. I follow through. I don't need an audience to take myself seriously. The same is true for your mind. Every time you study alone, focus alone, sit with your thoughts instead of escaping them, you're rewiring how you operate at the deepest level. But there's something even deeper here. The way you treat yourself in private is the way your life will eventually look in public. Have you ever noticed how people who seem effortlessly confident usually have quiet, consistent habits behind closed doors? That's not luck. That's the result of hundreds of solitary hours most people never see and most people never put in. There's a mindset shift that changes everything once you truly understand it. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling of lack, like something is missing. Solitude, when used correctly, is a feeling of power, like something is being built. Most people confuse the two, and because of that confusion, they avoid the very thing that could set them free. Think about Marcus Aurelius writing his private thoughts late at night, alone, refining his mind while ruling an empire by day. Think about Epictetus, who taught that the things truly within our control, our thoughts, our responses, our discipline, are cultivated in private, long before they're seen in public. Seneca wrote that it's not the man with too little who is poor, but the man who craves more. And so much of that craving comes from filling time with distraction instead of depth. Have you ever asked yourself why you feel restless the moment you're alone with nothing to do? That restlessness is often just an untrained mind, a mind that has never been asked to sit still and focus. But here's what most people never realize, that restlessness fades the moment you give your alone time a purpose. And once it fades, something incredible happens. You start to actually enjoy your own company. You start to trust yourself. And that trust becomes the foundation for everything else you build in life. Now close your eyes for a moment and picture this. It's 6 months from now. You wake up early, not because someone forced you to, but because you have things to do, things that matter to you. Your body feels different, stronger, more capable. Because over these months, instead of wasting your alone time, you trained it, fed it, challenged it. Your mind feels different too, sharper, calmer, more focused. Because you've spent countless hours alone studying, thinking, planning, instead of numbing yourself with distraction. Picture the way you walk into a room now. There's a quiet confidence in you that wasn't there before, not arrogance, but certainty. You know what you're capable of, because you've proven it to yourself alone, when no one else was watching. Have you ever imagined what it would feel like to actually trust yourself completely? That future version of you isn't far away. He's built in the small hours, the early mornings, the late nights, the moments of silence you choose to use instead of waste. And this is where everything changes, the moment you start treating your alone time as sacred, as valuable as the very place where your transformation lives. If you're serious about becoming that person, subscribe to Anonymous Achiever, because every video here is designed to help you build that exact kind of strength, mentally, physically, and emotionally. But what comes next is the part that determines whether any of this becomes real for you. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, spend at least 1 hour completely alone. With no phone, no noise, no distractions, just you. And something that builds you. Training, reading, studying, planning, reflecting. 1 hour a day, where you choose growth over comfort. Where you let silence work for you instead of against you. It won't feel comfortable at first. Your mind will resist it. You'll want to reach for your phone within minutes. But push through that resistance, because on the other side of it is the version of you that you've been waiting to meet. This is where discipline is built, not in front of others, but in the quiet hours no one sees. Comment "I'm ready" if you're committing to this challenge starting today. Your future self is waiting on the other side of that silence. The strongest version of you isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in silence, alone, when no one is watching. Choose discipline in those quiet moments, and your whole life will change. Subscribe to Anonymous Achiever if you're serious about becoming that person.